Most men looking for lies are checking for sick buffalo or the broken iPhone. But if you are dealing with a woman who has been any amount of time in Pattaya or Bangkok, she isn't using those anymore. Her lies are much harder to detect. Men get burned the worst because they believe something that wasn't true. But here's the thing. Bargirls are extremely adept at bending truth and lies to the point where the fantasy becomes a part of reality. The men who get hurt the worst weren't fooled by obvious lies. They were undone by true statements and half-truths deployed strategically. That is what this video is about. This isn't about beginner-level deception. She won't give any obvious contradictions. These are advanced lies that are used for the man to question reality itself. These lies often don't sound like lies at all, because the most dangerous lies aren't false. They're true in isolation and misleading in structure. Beginner lies are verbal. Advanced lies are contextual. That's why they're so effective. They're designed to disable your intuition. They often arrive later after trust has had time to form, and after connection and emotional investment has already been established. Advanced lies are designed to feel mature, honest, and earned. And the trick is you don't need to be a beginner to fall for these lies. Even the most experienced men fall for them. That's why men who have been burned say things like you can't trust anything that comes out of Bargirl's mouth. While this may be true to a certain extent, it is far more useful for the man to be able to categorize what she says and what it means. That provides a much stronger frame of analysis. This isn't about calling Bargirls evil. This is about understanding the adaptive survival strategies that develop inside nightlife environments where attention, stability, and money are constantly being negotiated. Once you understand that these lies are a psychological operation, the fog clears. An advanced lie usually has 5 traits. 1. It contains real truth. 2. It's emotionally disarming. 3. It shifts responsibility subtly onto the man. 4. It reframes dependency as intimacy. And 5. It activates protection instincts rather than suspicion. You don't catch these type of lies by listening harder. You catch them by watching what changes and what doesn't after the lie has already been spoken. Now let's get into them. The first lie is an advanced version of "I'm not like the other girls." The beginner version is obvious and non-technical. The advanced version is quiet because it hides a lot in context. She displays this lie with actions that look like, "I hate drama," or "I don't like asking men for money," or "most girls here are crazy." She doesn't explicitly say that's different. She performs it. Psychologically, this works because men treat self-criticism with more trustworthiness than critique of another. Self-awareness feels incompatible with manipulation. A man might not question a lie told about oneself that isn't necessarily flattering. But here's the structural reality. This is still differentiation. It's just a more refined version. She is not signaling innocence. She's signaling style. She's trying to convince you that her behavior and thus her decisions are different than the rest. While this can be technically true, most bargirls find themselves in environments that not only encourage this kind of behavior, but often punishes those who refuse to take part. If she's still in the game without friction, then odds are she is that different than the rest. The second lie is probably one of the most common advanced lies. It's the "I'm almost done with nightlife." And here's the key nuance that makes this so easy to fall for. Most of the time, she believes it too. She says that she's tired of drinking every day. She says she doesn't want this life anymore. But she also says that she needs to work a little bit longer to make more money. This works so well because it aligns perfectly with the man's rescue narrative. The man sees a woman trying to change, and the natural human instinct is to want to help her make that transformation. But desire alone doesn't produce exits. Pressure does. And once the man steps in and absorbs the responsibility that is associated with such a transformation, something ironic happens. Suddenly nightlife doesn't seem so bad anymore. By helping, the man has unwittingly extended her stint into nightlife for another few months or even years. The third advanced lie that bargirls often use is some form of, "I've never felt this safe before." This statement comes in various forms. Sometimes it is simply implied through action, but the effect is always hits men hard because men associate safety too often with intimacy. They connect the idea of safety with that of trust and progress. Here's the thing about a bargirl. Her life has become so compartmentalized that safety can mean two very different things. One is mutual security, the other is emotional regulation. If your presence calms chaos, stabilizes moods, and reduces anxiety, you may not be building partnership. You may be acting as a stabilizer. So when you hear this statement, it's not exactly a lie, but it simply doesn't mean what you think it means. And she knows that. She simply doesn't bother correcting you. The fourth advanced lie that bargirls use is some form of "this is different because it's real." There are various versions of this, but they all signal the same thing. This is the meta lie. And like many of the most advanced lies bargirls tell, the thing that makes this lie dangerous is that it might be true to a certain extent. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Even when something feels intense and emotionally rich, even when something gets the label of real, even when losing it might rip one's heart out, this does not change the underlying structure of a bargirl's life. Different feelings don't equal different structures, and it is the structure of her life that will determine the outcome. It's not chemistry, it's not sincerity, it's not intensity. And no one is more aware of the intense pressure she's under than the bargirl herself. That's what makes this lie so corrosive for the man. A fifth advanced lie that bargirls use is some form of, "If you leave, I don't know what I'll do." Here is where it's important to recognize the difference between what a bargirl says she wants and what is the reality of the situation. Because this lie isn't always manipulation. That's significant. Sometimes this lie is wrapped in panic, attachment, or fear of abandonment. But the effect is the same regardless. It transfers responsibility to the man without consent. The lie functions as a way to bind the man morally to stay and trigger his guilt if he tries to leave regardless of her own behavior. She structures her life so that your absence destabilizes her. But, and this is important, she does not change her own actions. She simply creates the conditions in which to make leaving as difficult as possible. So far, you're probably wondering why this statement is a lie. It sounds a lot like truth, but here's the truth. This is a lie because the bargirl often knows full well what she will do without you. In fact, she probably knows exactly what she will do without you. She probably knows where it will happen, who it will happen with, and what will happen. This statement is emotional speak, for she doesn't want to have to do that. But saying she doesn't know what she'll do, that is a lie. And the last advanced lie we will talk about isn't necessarily a lie, but more a deceptive tactic. It's the "I will tell you everything" tactic. This is often employed after she is cornered and defenseless. This is advanced honesty signaling, often followed by confessions, trauma stories, or admissions of past mistake. Men read this as transparency, but here's the distinction most miss. This statement is often followed by half-truths, deflections, or outright lies that serve as narrative framing for whatever idea she wants implanted in the man's mind. Transparency about her past does not equal transparency about incentives. She can tell you about her childhood, her pain, her regrets, but fail to disclose why she is telling you these things. Because a bargirl understands that building vulnerability invites closeness, but the thing it doesn't guarantee is alignment. So why do smart men still fall for these kinds of lies? Because this isn't about intelligence. It's about nervous system relief. Men fall for these lies because emotional relief often feels better than the truth. And sometimes familiar emotional patterns feel safer than unknown ones. This isn't stupidity. It's simply conditioning. But sometimes a bargirl will say these things and it won't be a lie. This matters. Some women do wait to leave nightlife and then never return when they've made the money they needed. Some do fall in love and decide to become a different version of themselves. Some do get into relationships that evolve into something resembling normalcy. But, and here's the important thing, Outcomes don't depend on sincerity. They depend on what changes without prompting. They depend on who absorbs the pressure and whether responsibility is mutual. Bottom line when it comes to Bargirls, watch behavior, not promises. Here's the line to remember. Advanced lies don't trap men because they're always false. They trap men because they align perfectly with what men hope is true. That hope overpowers logic quickly in the right conditions. Seeing that clearly isn't cruelty. It's how you stay free. If this hit uncomfortably close, that's not an accusation. It's awareness waking up. Until next time, stay sharp.